Hello design students. In this video I'm going to show you how you can take a simple icon and turn it into a more interesting illustration. I'm going to keep it really simple and show you how using different line weights, line types, and adding detail can really jazz up a very simple drawing. Okay, so for this I'm going to be using my technical pens. So I really like the Pigma brand Micron pens that come in different thicknesses. So here I have 3 different thicknesses: 01, 03, and 08. So you can stay around there. There's also a brush version of it if you want to fill in some areas. And another brand that I really like is the Pentel Arts Hybrid Technica. And I really like the way this looks as well, but I don't think this is archival ink, so it may fade over time. So you might want to look into that, but these also come into different thicknesses. Okay, so here I have a Bristol sheet of paper, but you can use any kind of paper. This one I find to be really nice working with pens. And we're going to use the icon of a house as a starting point. Okay, so whenever we think of a house, for example, what would an icon of a house be? So we have, you know, like a building with a little pitch roof, maybe a door, maybe a window, right? So this would be sort of like an icon, a really simple symbol for a house, okay? Now you can make it more interesting by adding some more details to it, right? So if I want to start over again, I can take a little bit of more time, be more precise, even if I want to keep the same kind of shape, right? But maybe I want to add some thicknesses. So of course everything's gonna have a thickness. The roof has a thickness to it. You know, adding maybe like a door frame, a little handle, maybe a little window in there, maybe a little window frame. Okay, already there is more detailed to this. Okay, another thing that you can do is add texture. Okay, so think about like, what is this made out of? And that could apply to a building, it can apply to an object, it can apply to a character. What does the surface seem like? Is it made out of brick? Is it made out of fur? Is it made out of, what kind of texture does it have basically? Okay, so maybe this is made out of siding, so I can draw some super light lines showing the texture of it. And a good thing to remember about showing texture is to think about the scale. Okay, so how far apart should these lines be can really help determine how big this like building might be, right? So maybe this is like a 2-story or something like that. I don't know. Okay, and then maybe we can think about like the roof edge. Okay, maybe it has a little bit of texture. Maybe there's some shingles that you can sort of see. Okay, keeping a rhythm when it comes to texture. Okay, and then I can also add reflections to texture. So glass is really smooth, right? So I can add those little lines to show like a glare or something like that. Maybe a little something on the bottom. So it's really good to, whatever you're drawing, try to observe it in real life and notice these little details. You know, maybe there's more texture, right? Instead of it just being like a flat ground, maybe there's grass and dirt and those kind of things, maybe some pebbles and maybe some, you know, foliage, things like that. And then you can start to sort of like create like a little scene. Okay, so already there's a huge difference between an icon and illustration. This almost is like setting a scene, or it's telling you a story. It's giving you more information about what particular kind of house is this. So you're gonna have to really think about your object or your person or whatever that you're drawing, is that you're giving it more of a story, you're giving it details, you're giving it more information, and that's going to add more interest whenever somebody's looking at your piece of art. Okay, now when I talk about line weights, I mean the thicknesses of lines. So this one is pretty thick. This is the 0.8. Okay, this is the 0.3. So it's pretty nice, but it's a little bit thinner. 0.1 is a thinner one. I think they also have a 0.05 that's really, really tiny. So you can utilize that one as well. This Pentel one has a 0.25 that I really like. I think this is really pretty and skinny. So anyways, so the way that you would use different line types is to make things stand out. So a really easy way of making this stand out, let's say you have a bunch of other things going on, right? And sometimes when you use the same thickness of lines, everything seems like it's equally as important. The eye doesn't really know where to focus on first, okay? So adding a bold outline can really help guide the viewer how to look at something, right? It attracts more attention. It says, okay, look at this house. And it's just a simple outline. I guess I had already made the bottom really thick. And then, you know, you first notice the outline and then you can start noticing some of the details, right? And another thing I want to make jump out is the door, because it's kind of getting lost with all the other textures. Okay, so maybe I want to make this bold, or I can use like the second one to make it like slightly bold. Okay, so just that makes a really huge difference. Okay, so I want you guys to use these techniques, use line weights. Okay, line types are different types of lines. So this, for example, is a solid line. This is a dotted line that you can use a lot of times. I'm sorry, a dashed line. You can use dotted lines, and here I've used like broken lines to show the texture because I don't want to like draw straight lines all the way across, because that would be too much and it would just take over the whole thing a little too much, I think. So anyway, so that's what I'm doing. If you wanted to add more detail to it, you can grab your thinner pen again, draw some like trims on the side. You know, really observe something or Google something, Google a picture of something, and then you can, this looks kind of weird, so I'm going to make this bold as well. Okay, Google something or really look at something and notice the different details that you can utilize to add more interest to your illustration. Alrighty.